Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to what I believe is the last event of a phenomenal international week at the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce. We've had speakers and audiences from across the world, ranging from ministers, ambassadors, high commissioners, but most importantly, you guys, the business community and the SMEs that have joined us during the week. So a big thank you to you all. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Eva Block, the Regional Manager for the West Midlands for Innovate UK, the UK Government's Innovation Agency. And we're going to be talking about the link between innovation and internationalisation and how we can support you to grow and scale your business. So just as an introduction, really, just to make that linkage that, our experience tells us that those companies that innovate will eventually look at the global opportunity that is presented to them and will internationalize. And that is really looking at how to modify product, create new products around that international opportunity, and really look at how to take that forward. And those companies that are looking at that global opportunity will invariably need to look at that whole innovation space in order to address that global opportunity that presents itself. Ultimately, as businesses, we're all looking for opportunity, growth and profitability. And this combination of innovation and internationalization really brings that to the forefront. So I'm going to hand over now to Eva, who's going to talk about how Innovate UK can support that innovation piece. And I will join you later in terms of how we can look at taking that innovation onto the global stage. So over to you, Eva.
Thank you very much, Rupi. Good morning, everybody. I'll take you through a quick presentation of Innovate UK. By no means exhaustive, but I think it will quite likely exhaust your attention span from that point of view. So do drop us a question if you have anything you would like me to clarify. But without further ado, why innovation? And we very often ask that question in terms of our remit. Companies that invest in R&D have higher productivity. We know that for a fact, that they're more likely to grow, more likely to innovate again, and more likely to export. And in current global markets, with value chains operating globally, with 95% of R&D conducted outside of the UK, that access to overseas markets, to partners, to investments, to knowledge and to skills is absolutely critical to enable the growth of UK businesses. What we do at Innovate UK, the UK National Innovation Agency, is we support UK businesses to go global by promoting and helping them grow and promoting access to global opportunities and partnerships with other countries. We do this through a range of ever-evolving tools of support. So our support, as Rupi will mention later on, includes not just funding, although that very often is the element that's of most interest to all, but it also involves developing connections and collaboration and action and introductions and access to other markets. So that's quite an important element to start with. Now, in terms of us as an innovation agency, as mentioned, we are the Government Innovation Agency. We've got a dual remit, first of all, to connect businesses to the people that can help them, so provide a sort of networking and access to expertise support, and then obviously the funding, so the money side of things, to support those collaborations and those projects that will result in accelerating innovation, that will result in growth and jobs. Since we've been in existence since 2007, with an annual budget at the moment of 1.2 billion, we are supporting quite a range of projects and quite a lot of activities, as you would imagine. Just to give you an example, 8.5 6,000 organizations is what we supported so far. We work with pretty much every university in the country. That's not to say that we support purely universities, because in fact, our mission is to support business-led innovation, but what it means is very often that innovation is built on the back of research excellence and capability. So a lot of our projects are led by businesses, or most of our projects are led by businesses, but they do have academic participation in terms of bringing those research element into play. The fund portfolio, which I'll start with, is quite broad, and by no means I don't expect you to actually go through that slide in detail, but this is just to give you an example of what we do. So obviously we've got something called the Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund, which is the biggest pot of money we've got available at Innovate, and that's a pot of money which looks specifically at particular industrial challenges. So you might have heard of the Faraday Challenge, which looks at electric vehicles and batteries. You might have heard of the Medicines Manufacturing Challenge, which is quite prominent at the moment in terms of its presence in the media. Or Creative Industries Challenge, where we're looking at development and commercialization of new technologies. So they're typically based around particular issues that are quite prominent from an economic point of view, but also social point of view. We also have a responsive mode, so that's a bottom-up type of funding, where pretty much anything goes in terms of the scope and industry, and what we particularly want to see is commercially viable and marketable solutions. We've got a piece around skills and talent, and primarily we address that through the knowledge transfer partnerships, which are partnerships between academia and industry to provide expertise and support to businesses. We've got business growth funding, so that's typically for organizations looking at, for example, innovation loans, so late stage solutions which perhaps instead of looking for grants, prefer the loans portfolio. We also partner with investors and deliver something called Investment Accelerator. And that's where we typically collaborate with investors and provide funding which is matched by investors as equity funding to help develop and market solutions. And last but certainly not least, we have got something called the Go Global strategy, and that's a strategy to which looks at international collaborations and markets, which we consider of particular importance to the UK economy. The connect piece is something that's quite interesting, and in fact, it's the core of what we do in terms of connecting people to opportunities, connecting them to customers, suppliers, investors, and equipment. And we do that through a range of different mechanisms. The first one that's worth mentioning and important from our point of view here is the catapult network. We've got 11 catapults at the moment. These are catapults which focus specifically on particular capabilities and leverage those capabilities, looking at how to commercialize business-led solutions. So they've got typically programs that support commercialization of those solutions. As an example, in the West Midlands, we've got, for example, the Energy Systems Catapult, which looks at the supply and demand aspects of energy systems. We also have got quite prominent 2 centres for high-value manufacturing catapult, one at Warwick Manufacturing Group and the other one at MTC. They both looking at slightly different aspects of advanced materials and high-value manufacturing processes and systems. So that's the example of the type of catapults that we've got. In terms of our knowledge transfer network, and if you click on those slides, which I'm sure you will get after the event, you will be able to, this will be able to take you through to the Knowledge Transfer Network website. This is a network which we fund exclusively, and it's a network which is a networking sort of arm of Innovate UK. So it consists of sectoral experts in all the fields of industry that we cover as a national agency. And these are experts with expertise, with market knowledge, with finance knowledge, who will be able to provide you with access to supply chains, to collaborators, to universities, or to investors in particular areas which you will require. And it's relatively easy. You go through to the website, you click on the details of the different sectors. It takes you through to their contact details. You can also subscribe to receive updates from them on a regular basis. It's worth adding that Knowledge Transfer Networks run all of our funding events. So whenever there is a funding call, KTN will be the organization that will help us organize the briefing events, currently all online for all of those competitions. They also look at applications prior to submission, and they're able to provide you with a bit of feedback in terms of the quality of your application. So it's certainly worth taking that support on board. Enterprise Europe Network, Rupi obviously will be talking about Enterprise Europe Network. All I will mention is that in the West Midlands, we've got 2 centres, 2 very active centres, looking at linking businesses and helping them grow and innovate. So please do take advantage of that presence here in the region. I wanted to finish on a little sort of note, which will hopefully take you through nicely to what Rupi will be talking about, and that's what a business is looking when they're looking abroad and when they're planning to expand internationally. Obviously, there's an element of looking at and developing new market channels and opportunities. You may be looking at validating your technology on a global stage. You could be looking to find customers or accelerating your time to market. We do provide help with all of that, and Rupi will expand on that, but we do provide help in terms of financial support. We very regularly have funding calls with our priority countries, which Rupi will expand on. So those funding opportunities are built on the premise of us funding UK organisations, UK businesses, and the partner country funding their own. We do join funding opportunities. We do briefing events. Currently, we're doing quite successful online missions as well. So it's certainly, from your point of view, if you haven't taken part in any of those, now would be a fantastic opportunity to actually do it online when it's all a little bit more accessible and perhaps less time consuming than it would normally be when available physically. So please do take an opportunity to do that. One other thing that I wanted to mention just before I finish is the fact that we've got a range of opportunities and support mechanisms during the COVID times now to help you, to support you, to help you in terms of funding opportunities, but also business growth support. And Rupi will expand on that, but just please make sure you go to our website, which will provide you with the latest information on funding support. In particular, we're expecting to open a specific funding call on the economic and social impact of COVID and solutions linked to that, to alleviating those impacts. That should come out next week. So please watch that space and check that website, and I'll post the link to the website right now in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva. I think that was very insightful. Leads us on nicely to what I'm going to talk about in terms of the specific support offered by Enterprise Europe Network. So just to pick up on what Eva had said, I mean, the Enterprise Europe Network is there to really support you on a one-to-one basis and provide that intense support. What our main remit is to take companies to scale and grow and to internationalize. And alongside that is very, very much looking at managing the innovation, supporting you with the innovation, with all that wraparound opportunity from Innovate UK and other agencies. Looking at the finance aspect as well. There is something that I'll touch on momentarily about how we work with the opportunity to access investors. And the main and sort of kind of our jewel in the crown is really being able to connect you to partners or potential partners to develop products and services, with the Enterprise Europe network spanning over 65 plus countries. So you really do get the opportunity to get that local expertise to find partners and opportunities. So the areas that we support you with, or can support you with, is the Innovate to Grow. So really looking at the whole commercialisation section, and looking at how areas of the business can be can have an attached value, with intellectual property being one of them. Access to finance. We do have something called Pitch Fest, which is where you will get the opportunity to pitch your idea to potential investors, and helping with that long-term access to finance. The growth and scale-up area, there is access to a scale-up board, which has you'd be allocated a specific scale-up director to support you with that dynamic growth, taking that to that global stage. As I alluded to just in the previous slide, the Enterprise Europe network covers 65 plus countries, and there's offices in those countries, not just one per country, but a multiple of different offices. So you do really have that opportunity to get that localized information and intelligence there to support you in your business growth on that international stage. And moving into those new markets with that advisory support really gives you a bit more of a sound basis to move forward and to find those trusted partners. So yeah, just to give you a sense of the reach: 65 countries, 600 partners, 3,000 experts, and that's probably increased since this slide was put together, just simply because the growth is just looking at providing that support on a global basis. And as we look at how the coverage is across the UK, there is a diversity of support through the advisors that make up the Enterprise Europe network covering the UK. Scotland have a separate consortium, but again, there are still 17 people in that consortium there to support you. So obviously we sit here in the West Midlands, so in that green area, and we're probably a make-up between us and Coventry, 30 plus advisors at your disposal to support you. So our engagement, just some numbers there for you, over 13,000 businesses we've engaged with, over 4,500 have had intensive innovation coaching and mentoring, over 700 at international brokerage events, 286 million, so nearly 300 million pounds worth of funding and finance has been raised, and the collaboration piece is nearly 3,000. So it gives you the sense of the vastness of the opportunity that exists for you, but also of really being able to tap into that tailored support that would be available for you to really take forward and take advantage of. So those international collaborations, which is obviously where we want to focus on today, has been a mix of research partnerships, technology deals, business partnerships, and market access support. So you can see that we can support you right from the very beginning of the journey, right up to that whole piece of working with an international partner, working on joint projects, looking at joint commercial opportunity, and really looking at having a presence in market. One of the things that we are very good at and very active in is something called brokerage events. And obviously pre-COVID, these were very much face-to-face. And it was very much about presenting those business opportunities on a one-to-one basis, having business-to-business matchmaking events where you have that opportunity. A lot of these now have moved onto an online format. So obviously, you know, as Eva said, that there's a great opportunity now to engage in those where the costs are lower, the time's a little bit lower, and you can still maximize that opportunity. The second thing we have is something called a partnering opportunity database, and that gives you an opportunity to present your idea, your innovation, your ask, I suppose, of whether you're looking for an international partner, whether you're looking for or whether you're offering your services as an international partner, but really gives you that opportunity to be in the shop window with all those 600 countries, and really looking at those, those 600 offices in those 65 plus countries, and have that opportunity to look at whether they can connect you to one of their clients, and give you that opportunity to look at joint working. The third thing, obviously, is that as Enterprise Europe Network advisors, we have counterparts in those 600 offices, so we can make direct contact with those for you, as to whatever your particular query may be. So really, I mean, the whole emphasis of that is really key, leading up to that connectivity piece. And one of the flagship programs for Innovate UK is something called a Global Business Innovation Program. And that really is about looking at that global opportunity, growth, scaling up, and taking your business forward on that global stage. And what this program does is gives you that opportunity in 3 phases. The first phase that we support you with is actually looking at the market in terms of preparation. Is it the right market? Does it have suitable opportunity? Does it have the right partner opportunity for you? Will it give you the right research and development basis to take your product or your innovative solution forward? So that would be predicated around a set of objectives, an action plan, which is always a fluid document in any business, and which will change depending upon new information. So once that is done, we will take you on an innovation visit. Recently, I led one out to India around the smart cities agenda, very much looking at that opportunity from a commercial basis, from an R&D basis, from a state operation basis, in terms of what is at that political stage as well, and what are the drivers, and really getting a better understanding of the opportunity and who are the players in the market that can support you and can work with you to take an opportunity forward. And on the third phase, then on return, is really evaluating the visit, evaluating what you thought it was before, realigning, reassessing, and then really looking at how to take that opportunity forward. Now, in that particular program, you will be allocated a individual advisor to work with you on that, to work on the opportunity to take it forward, and really look at finding that international partnership, allowing you to scale and grow your business. So yes, so I don't think we could have gone through the presentation without looking at how that has impacted on activity, how COVID has impacted on activity. So yes, obviously at the moment the Global Business Innovation Programme is on hold in terms of any face-to-face in-market visits and face-to-face meetings. We are looking at how we can do it on a virtual basis. However, COVID-19 has presented a new set of dynamics, and as Enterprise Europe Network, we are looking at a business support expansion of the advice that we can give to you. So we're really looking now at how we can support those innovative companies to survive, and at this time of crisis, really looking at supporting them while they may not know what to do or where to go, looking at that short-term challenge, and really trying to solidify and bring a stability to the business whilst we're in this middle of this pandemic. So we're looking at 3 personas, I suppose, of businesses those to support them to survive, stabilize, and grow. I mean, we envisage that most of the businesses and the businesses that we are starting to engage with now are in the survive and stabilize. There are a few that are still in that growth area, but very much around survival and stabilization while we navigate through this pandemic. And a bit more on those, in terms of the package of support, we would you would have access to an EN Innovation and Growth Advisor. The advisory support will take place over a 6 to 12 month period. There will be an additional 3 days of support for those who have got that that stability and the potential to grow. I did want to emphasize that it's not a one size fits all program. So whilst we're looking at a 5-day advisory support, it may be that some businesses only need 3 days or 2 days, but it's very much about offering that tailored support to the individual company to be able to get them through through this pandemic. So in terms of the 3 stages, we're looking at, in the survival area, looking at those short-term challenges. So around cash flow, supply chains, navigating through staffing levels, how it may impact on the business, what do we need to do to kind of get it to just kind of survive at this stage. Really then during the next 3 to 6 months is about that medium-term stabilization phase, really looking at building resilience, building a plan for growth. How do we ensure that you're able to, as a business, to be able to look at that growth trajectory? What we want to really do is give you a plan, work on your business, looking at supporting you with a business remodeling if needs be, looking at where the opportunity may sit now, which may have been different, which may be different to what it was before COVID, and really looking at the whole pivot and realignment and repositioning of the business should it require it. And then obviously in the 7th to 12th months period, we're really looking at getting your business back on track, following a new path if it may be, but really looking at that growth trajectory and look at how we can support you on those growth ambitions. And obviously with all this, the support that's coming through what Eve has talked about earlier on, there's great opportunity there to tap into all of those things, or some of those things which may be appropriate to get you down that growth trajectory and get you through that path of rebuilding your business again. Some of the areas that we will look at supporting you with: cash flow, staff retention, resilience. Again, you know, a big thing around cash flow, money. How do we inject new money into the business? Looking at your models, your business models, like I've said, and really looking at how we can take you along that journey and get you to stabilize as a business and really look at that growth opportunity that will eventually present itself. It may be difficult and hard to see at the moment, but it will come back. So the target companies for the support are very much around those who we've worked with already and who are receiving Innovate UK support. Any of those who have been in the funding and non-funding interventions, including the Global Business Innovation Programme, Women in Innovation, the competition winners. High growth companies who we've worked with as Enterprise Europe, but also those companies who we may not have worked with, but are innovative, who do have the potential for high growth and need that support to get them back on track. So that's, you know, the package of support is targeted towards those companies. So that's it from us. If there's any questions, we're happy to take those questions from you. I see a question here. I can't get to it. Oh, here we are. Yes, I mean, with Innovate have Urban Links Africa, and there is which is a catapult, which is a connecting places opportunity. So what that is that it's actually looking at opportunities and working in Kenya and South Africa, I believe, at the moment. And that there's also something around the energy catapult as well here. They're doing something around energy systems in Africa. Again, I believe Kenya. So there is a lot of there is activity in Africa. I also know that there's been some visits out to Nigeria as well. So Africa is definitely on the map, certainly from Innovate UK. The heat map that you saw earlier may have just been where the Enterprise Europe Network offices are. But alongside that obviously sits the core Innovate UK operation as well. So there is a lot of work going on in Africa as well. May not be exclusively to EN, but across the wider Innovate family as well. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
I would just echo that and also say that we have Knowledge Transfer Network has just set up a legal entity in Africa, looking at how best to provide those connections to opportunities. Obviously, there is a sort of ODA type of funding in terms of Commonwealth markets, and that's very much ongoing at the moment. Sub-Saharan Africa in particular is one of our key priority areas for collaboration. So it's certainly worth getting in touch with KTN to talk about some of those priorities coming up. But also, if you go to that web link, which I've provided a few minutes ago, that will take you through to the currently opened competitions. But the best way to do always before you apply for anything with us is to actually get in touch with KTN to advise you on that. And we can add, Whoopi, I think we can add the contact details for both of us and also a web link to KTN as well.
Yeah, I mean,
just to
we'll
make sure
share the
provided.
slides after. We will share the slides after this as well, and we'll make sure that our contact details are in there as well. Yes, is the answer to that. I've just put my email on the chat, but like I said, we will circulate the slides, and it will have our email addresses on there.
I will just add the link to the contact person for Africa or for international at KTN.
But I mean, obviously, if you're local West Midlands, you can come through us as well if you want to, and we can then obviously make that connection. But just see whether there's something else that we can work with you on. What we're trying to do is obviously across the Innovate family is really trying to give you that whole comprehensive, holistic support, right the way through from idea to that global opportunity. There's a lot of us, so we want to just make sure that you have the best opportunity to support your business, you know, to take it forward.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.